Students, in this video lecture, we will discuss about the second chapter of your book, and the name of the second chapter is Sexual Reproduction in Flowering Plants. So, first we will understand about the flower. What is the flower and what kind of flowers are there? So, the flower is nothing but the modified shoot, and the parts of flower such as sepal, petal, stamen and carpel are just like the lateral appendages. Means the flower is nothing but the modification of the shoot, and the part of flower is the lateral appendages, as we can see in case of shoot. And these lateral appendages like sepal, petal, stamen, and carpel are also called as whorls. So the whorls of flowers are arranged on a solen end of the stalk, which is called as thalamus or receptacle. Means the part of the flower is called as whorls, and the whorls are arranged on the stalk, and the part of the stalk on which these will be arranged will be called as thalamus or receptacle. Now we will discuss each of the whorl of flower one by one. So the first one is calyx, and the calyx is the outermost whorl of the flower, and the calyx is composed of sepals, and generally these are green colored leaf like structures, and the main function of the calyx is to provide protection of the inner walls of the flower. The second part of the flower is corolla, and the corolla is composed of petals, and generally these are large, bright in color, and generally they have a peculiar fragrance, so that it helps to attract the organism for pollination. So the main function of the corolla in most of the plants is associated with pollination. Means due to their large size, bright colored structure, and having a particular peculiar fragrance, they will attract the insect and organism so that they can participate in pollination. The third one will be called as endoecium, and this endoecium is considered as the male reproductive organ of the flower, and it is composed of stamen or stamens, and the innermost or centralmost part of the flower is called as gynoecium, and this part is considered as the female reproductive organ of the flower, and it is composed of carpel or carpels. Why I am saying carpel and carpels, or stamen or and stamens? Just because some of the flowers they may have a single stamen and single carpel, or multiple of stamen and multiple of carpels. So there is a wide variation in the flowers. Now one term comes which is called as perianth. So this perianth is called when the calyx and corolla cannot be differentiated. Means we cannot differentiate between calyx and corolla. Means their structure is more over similar to each other. So collectively, calyx and corolla will be called as perianth, and generally it is found in some of the monocot plants, and the individual member of the perianth can be called as tepals. So perianth is nothing but the when the flower will have similar structure of calyx and corolla, and we cannot say that this one is the corolla and this one is the calyx. So Altogether, they will be called as variants, and the single member will be called as tepal. Now, on the basis of the essentiality, the all the parts of the flower has been divided into two categories. One is called as accessory organs, and second category is called as essential organs. So the accessory organs of the flower is called is includes calyx and corolla, just because they are not directly involved in the fertilization and formation of embryo. On the other hand, endoecium and gynoecium are the essential organs of the flower, just because they are male and female reproductive organ of the flower. So without these structures, the fertilization and the formation of embryo, or we, in another word, we can say the production of offspring will not be possible. So endoecium and gynoecium is called as essential organ of the flower, and calyx and corolla is considered as the accessory organ of the flower. Now, on the basis of number of carpels, we can divide the flowers into two categories, such as monocarpellary and multicarpellary. So as we know that carpel is nothing but the female reproductive organ of the flower. So if flower is having a single carpel, then the flower will be called as monocarpellary. And if the flower is having more number of carpels, or two or more than two carpels, then the flower will be called as multicarpellary flower. Now, on the basis of fusion, or the free carpels, again the flower can be divided into two categories: apocarpus and syncarpus. So apocarpus are the kind of gynoecium in which the carpels are free, but in case of syncarpus, the carpels are fused together. So apo means free, syn means fused. So in case of apocarpus, the carpels are free, but in case of syncarpus, the carpels will be fused. So there is a wide variation in the structure and the arrangement of the whorls of the flower. On the basis of that, there are several terms. Now, again, the flowers have been divided into categories on the basis of presence or absence of the whorls. So here again the flower can be divided into two categories: complete flower and incomplete flower. So complete flowers are those flowers which are having all four whorls, means calyx, corolla, endoecium and gynoecium. If the flower is having all these four parts, then the flower will be called as complete flower. And if any one of them will be missing, then the flower will be called as incomplete flower. So these are the these are one category of the flower. Now, again, the flower can be divided into perfect and imperfect flower. So in case of perfect flower, these are the bisexual flowers. Means the perfect flower are those flowers which are having both endoecium and gynoecium. Means they will have both the essential parts of the flower, will be called as perfect flower. But in case of imperfect flower, the flowers are unisexual. It means either they will have endoecium or gynoecium, but both will not be present in the same flower. Now, the flowers which are having only stamens or male reproductive part of the flower, then the flowers will be called as staminate flower. On the other hand, the flowers which are having the female reproductive part of the flower or carpels, then the flower will be called as pistillate flower. Now we will understand monoecious plant, dioecious plant, and polygamous plant. So monoecious or bisexual plants are those plants which are having both kinds of reproductive organs. Means they will have endoecium and gynoecium both, either on the same flower or in two different flowers. So when both staminate and pistillate flowers are born only on the same plant, or if they have the complete flower, then the plant will be called as monoecious or bisexual plant. But now the second term is dioecious or monosexual plants. So in case of dioecious or monosexual plants, the plant will have only one kind of sexual organ. It means either they have male flower or female flower, but not the both. But in case of polygamous plants, they will have a set of flowers which will have both the sexual organs. Means both you both the uh, gynoecium and endoecium will be there in a flower, and another set of flowers will also be there which will have only one sex organ. Means when both bisexual and unisexual flowers are present on a same plant, then the plants will be called as polygamous plants. We can see that there are three categories of the plants on the basis of presence and absence of the sex organs. Now, on the basis of position of the ovary, flowers can again be divided into categories, and there are a total of three categories: epigynous flower, hypogynous flower, and perigynous flower. So in case of epigynous flower, sepal, petal, and stamen seems to arise above the ovary. It means the ovary will be placed below to the sepal, petal, and stamen. Means sepal, petal, and stamen will be placed above, and the ovary will be placed below these parts. And what will happen here, as I told before, that all the whorls of the flower will be arranged on the solen part of the stalk, which is called as thalamus. So the sepal, petal, stamen, as well as the ovary will be placed on the thalamus. So what will happen here? The thalamus will form the cup-like structure, and inside the cup, the ovary will be there. And at the terminal end of the thalamus, sepal, petal, and stamen will be placed. Now, since the ovary is placed below to the sepal, petal, and stamen, so here the ovary will be inferior. Now the second category of the flower is hypogynous flower. So in case of this flower, everything will be reversed to the epigynous flower. Means the sepal, petal, stamens are now will be arranged below to the ovary. Means here the ovary will be in superior position, and rest of the part of the flower such as sepal, petal, and stamen will be placed below the ovary. And here the examples are brassica and tomato. But in case of epigynous flower, the examples are cucumber and apple. And the third kind of uh, flower are called as perigynous flower. So in case of perigynous flower, it will be the means here the arrangement of all the parts of the flower will be in the same level. Means sepal, petal, stamen, as well as ovary will be placed in a same plane. So the sepal, petal, stamen will be arranged to the periphery of the ovary. Now we'll discuss about the structure of stamen in detail here. But before this, we will see the part of flower and we will understand it completely. So we can see here, this one is stalk or stamen, and this one is the solen part of the stem, which is called as thalamus or receptacle, on which all the whorls of the flower will be placed. So here we can see that this one is the outermost whorl, which is which is called as sepal, and here it has also been written that it provides protection to the flower bud. The second whorl here is petal, and this has been given in pink color structure. So it helps in pollination. So pollination has been written here. And the third whorl will be called as stamen, and the stamen is the male reproductive part of the flower, and it is again composed of two parts, anther and filament, and the centralmost or the innermost part of the flower is called as carpel, and carpel is considered as the female reproductive part of the flower, and again it is made up of style, stigma and ovary. So we can see that how a typical flower will look alike. Now the stamen. Stamen is made up of two structures. The long tubular structure we can see here is called filament, and the lobed structure will be called as anther. Means stamen is made up of anther and filament. Generally, the anther is made up of two lobes, and each lobe is made up of two parts, which is called as theca. So the a typical flower will have two lobules, and in each lobule there will be two theca. So generally the term used to classify these kind of stamens as bilobular and bithecous. So generally anther has two lobes, bilobular, and each lobe has two theca, so it is called as dithecous. So a total of four lobules are there in a anther. So we can see the detailed structure of an anther here. So this one is the anther. We can see here, this one is the anther, and this one is the whole stamen. When we cut the transverse section of the anther, so it will moreover look like this. So we can see here, this one is one lobe and this one is another lobe. So there are two lobes, and in each lobe there are two theca, one theca and two theca. So a total of four theca or lobules are there, and each lobule is having microsporangium, and we can say in another word that each lobe of the anther is having two microsporangium. So generally a typical stamen is having two lobes. So a total of four microsporangium is there in a typical stamen. Now we can see here that this lobe is having one microsporangium, this lobe is again having one microsporangium, and this one again. So the outermost layer of this anther is epidermis. We can see here the outermost layer or cell will be called as epidermis, and below this epidermis endothecium cells are there. So these are specialized cells, and the name of this cell is endothecium, and below the endothecium there is a middle layer, and the microsporangium is made up of a special kind of cell which is called as tapetum, and inside the tapetum there are a lot of microspores or pollen grains. So this is the structure of a anther. Now we can see here one more structure which is called as stomium. So stomium is there in the anther, and this stomium is the position where the the anther breaks the structure and pollen grains will come out. Means it helps in dehiscence of the anther, and it helps in the it helps the pollen grain to come out from the microsporangium. So again, we will see the structure. These are two lobes, and each lobe is having two microsporangium. So a total of four microsporangium is there, and the outermost layer of the anther is called epidermis, and below the epidermis there is a continuous layer of a specialized cell which is called as endothecium. And in when we are talking about the microsporangium, so the microsporangium will be encircled by a special kind of cell which is called as tapetum, and inside this encircled structure there are a lot of microspores or pollen grains. So this is all about the structure of a pollen grain. Thank you.